Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. So now we're moving on to the 7th lesson, and here we're discussing hadith are not muttasil. So last time we said hadith that's not muttasil is called what? What do we say basically is called what? If it's not muttasil, it's called munqati'. There's a bit more detail into that. So let's go through that detail. So now we're analyzing a chain. So we've analyzed the chains according to whether it's sahih, hasan or da'if. We've analyzed hadith according to who is attributed to, marfu, mawquf and maqtu'. We've analyzed hadith according to the number of narrators, aziz, mashhur and gharib. Now we're analyzing the hadith in terms of its chain being linked or not linked. So this chain we have here, حدثنا الشافعي عن مالك أخبره عن نافع عن عبد الله بن عمر أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال. This hadith, this chain is what? Is it muttasil or not muttasil? It's muttasil. Shafi is a student of Imam Malik, he heard from him. Malik heard from Nafi, Nafi heard from Abdullah, Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu heard from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yes? So this chain is an example of a hadith muttasil. Correct? If any of the chain, if any link from this chain is dropped or removed, if any link is dropped or removed, then it becomes it's not muttasil anymore. Okay? Now, depending on where the droppage takes place, depending on where the link is broken, the hadith is given a different name. So all of them are broken chains. But the muhaddithun have given different names according to where the breakage takes place. For example, in here, who's missing? In this second chain. حدثنا الشافعي عن مالك أخبره عن نافع أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال. What happens in here? Who's missing in here? The Sahabi. At the end of the chain, Sahabi is missing. So this hadith will have a different name. If who's missing حدثنا الشافعي عن نافع عن عبد الله بن عمر أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال. Who's missing? Where are they missing? At the beginning of the chain. Yes? And in here, who's missing? Or how many are missing? 2 are missing. And in here, how many are missing? Most of them are missing. So here is the chain. So you have a Sahabi is missing. Here you have just one person is missing. Yes, you have one person missing. Here you have 2 missing. You see different variations. Now the muhaddithun have different names for each because where the breakage applies, it can have different implications as we go on later on. So let's analyze one by one. So all of these are called called munqati. Now see, there's a bit of an issue here. The word munqati is used in 2 ways. Munqati can mean any broken hadith, and munqati can also refer to a particular breakage. So you have to, I want to only keep one name because both of them are used kind of. So the word munqati is used when it's any breakage, and it's also used for a particular place where the breakage takes place. So we'll go through it bit by bit. So look here. This hadith is called, who's missing here? A Sahabi is missing. Because we know that Nafi narrates Abdullah ibn Umar. So when a Sahabi is missing, we would say this hadith is called what? Hadithun mursalun. What's hadith going to be called? Hadithun mursalun. Hadith mursal. Because who's missing? The Sahabi is missing. So when a Sahabi is missing, we call it Hadithun mursal. Understood? Yes? What's rule number 1? If the breakage occurs at a Sahabi, the Sahabi is the one who has not been mentioned. What is this going to be called? What kind of hadith is this called? Hadith mursal. Understood? Okay. If the author of the book, at the beginning of the chain, he misses out all the narrators, or he misses out one narrator, he misses out 2 narrators. If the breakage occurs at the beginning of the chain, like for example, Imam Shafi in his book, he says this. If Imam Shafi says in his book, Anna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam qal, or if Shafi says, Abdullah ibn Umar qal, Anna Rasulullah qal, or Imam Shafi says, Nafi an Abdullah ibn Umar, then all of these are called what? Mu'allaq. What are they called? mu'allaq. So in the first one, in the previous one, is where who's missing at the end? The Sahabi. And here, if the breakage occurs immediately afterwards, whether it's only one person, whether it's two people, whether it's all the way to the end, if that person narrates the beginning of the chain, the breakage takes place. Not at the end of the chain before Rasulullah, but at the beginning of the chain by the author of the book or the teacher. This is called mu'allaq. So mursal and mu'allaq are kind of opposites. Mursal is the breakage right at the end. Mu'allaq is the breakage right at the beginning, but the only thing is that mu'allaq can then extend to 2, 3, even all of them. Like for example, in Mishkat and Riyadh al-Salihin, they are all mu'allaq because you don't have the chain. You just have an Abdullah ibn Umar, and Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and Abi Dharr radiyallahu anhu. The author of Mishkat, he never met these people, but he's missed out the entire chain. But obviously it's not a problem because he's quoting from Bukhari and Muslim. But if somebody else does that, who doesn't have another chain to back it up, he doesn't say, oh, Fulan said. He just writes it as this. This is called mu'allaq. Do you understand? Does everyone understand this? The hadith mu'allaq? Yes? So if at the beginning of the chain, the first person, your teacher or the person writing the book, they miss out links, whether it's 1, 2, or all of them, this is called mu'allaq. And the opposite of that is where the ending link is broken, which is called mursal. A sahabi. A sahabi is not mentioned. That's called mursal. Have you understood the link between mursal and mu'allaq? Yes? Are you following? Yes? Any questions regarding this? Okay. Now, the next thing we have after that is what? If you have two continuous breakage, you have two at the same point. For example, we have two continuous people right at the same point. So here we know Imam Shafi narrates from Malik. Who does Malik narrate from? Nafi. And Nafi narrates from Abdullah ibn Umar. So how many people are missing? How many people are missing in the chain? 2. And they're consecutive or not consecutive? They're consecutive. So then we call this 2 rawi are missing and they're one after the other. You call this here mu'dal. What do you call this? Mu'dal. So if you have two missing and they're continuous, we call this mu'dal. Okay? So if the sahabi is missing, what do we call this? If the sahabi is missing, what do we call it? Mursal. If the person after the teacher or the author of the book is missing, whether it's 1, 2, or the entire chain, what's this called? Mu'allaq. And if you have 2 missing, not at the beginning, but 2 missing anywhere else, what's this called? Mu'adhal. It's called mu'adhal. And any other breakage is called munqati. Any other breakage is called? This is supposed to be munqati. No, it's munqati. Munqati. On any other breakage here, is this breakage at the beginning of the chain? No, not beginning of the chain because he's mentioned Malik. Is it end of the chain? No. The breakage is in the middle. Nafi. What's this going to be called? Munqati. So munqati is used to it can be used to refer to any breakage, and is also used to refer to a breakage where anywhere in the middle, apart from mu'allaq, mursal and mu'adhal. Does that make sense? Yes? So if you look at it here, if we have a hadith that's been muttasil, the entire chain is preserved and every single link is there. Nothing is missing. That's called hadithun what? What's that called? Hadithun? Muttasil. If there's a breakage, it's ghayr muttasil. You can call it munqati as well, but we're going to leave munqati. Normally munqati refers to a specific, not any breakage, a particular breakage. So if a hadith is not muttasil, if the breakage, what's mursal? Where did the breakage occur in mursal? The end, who's omitted? A sahabi. Opposite of that is mu'allaq. Who's missed out in the mu'allaq? Who's omitted in the mu'allaq? The beginning of the chain. After the teacher or after the author, they miss out 1, 2, or the entire chain. It's called mu'allaq. If you have, what's mu'adhal? What's a mu'adhal? not the end. Mu'dal is just not the end or beginning. Mu'dal is not mursal, not mu'allaq, but if two people missing, but it's not mu'allaq. So not at the beginning of a chain, but apart from the beginning of a chain, any two are missing. It's called mu'dal. If you miss out two at the beginning, what's that going to be called? That's still mu'allaq. If the break at the beginning, you don't call it mu'dal, you call it mu'allaq. You following me? So mu'dal is a breakage of two or more apart from the beginning, in the middle, anywhere. Do you understand? Yes? Is that clear to everybody? And any other breakage, if it's not a mursal, it is not mu'allaq, it's not mu'dal, what's it called? Munqati. Do you understand? Yes, middle of a chain. And it's not two. If it's two, it becomes what? If it's two, it becomes mu'dal. Yes? So if you have a sahabi missing, what do you call it? If you have two people missing at the beginning of the chain, what do you call it? Mu'allaq. One missing at the beginning of the chain, what do you call it? Yeah, one missing at the beginning, what's that going to be called? That's still mu'allaq. One missing at the end of the chain, what's that going to be called? That's still mursal. And two missing, two consecutive breakages is called what? If you have two breakages, it's not one after the other, what's that going to be called? Munqati. Or a breakage is not at the beginning or not at the end, in the middle, what's that going to be called? Munqati. That's called munqati. Do you understand? So we stop here today, inshallah, and we recap this, inshallah. So this is very important. Get these terms in mind. Shall we stop here for a little while, a day or two, and we go over, recap these terms, the practice them, make sure we know them. It's very, very important. Yes, everybody following? Any questions? Okay, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.